my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to today's reading vlog where I will be reading romance only for a week. I am still pretty new to the romance genre. I don't read a lot of it, so I'm still figuring out what I like and if I even like romance to begin with. So I have 5 books that I want to read today, and I will just go through them with you guys. So up first we have I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston, who is the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop, who I've heard great things about, but I've never read any book by them. This one sounds intriguing to me. It's a YA book, it's LGBT, and I guess it's this girl who kisses another girl and then just kind of disappears. Then we have another YA LGBT book, and that is Forget Me Not by Allison Derrick. This is about 2 girls that are in a relationship, and one of them gets amnesia and can't remember the relationship. This one I'm very, very intrigued by. I've heard it's kind of sad, so we'll see how it goes. I do love this cover though. Then we have 2 books off of my physical TBR, which we love to see. Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I read The Love Hypothesis by her and fully expected to hate it, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Love Theoretically, I gave it 3.5 stars, so I figured we might as well read this one as well and see if it measures up to the other 2 or if it's kind of a flop. Then we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This one I have heard fantastic things about, even from non-romance readers, and the plot just sounds so intriguing to me, so I'm really, really excited to read this one. And last but not least, we have a brand new release. This is A Quantum Love Story by Mike Chen. I literally have seen 0 things about this, but I found it one day on Goodreads, and it sounded really interesting. It's like a time loop story, but these people are kind of growing their relationship in each time loop. I don't know. It sounds really, really interesting. It's like a sci-fi romance, and I am here for it. So these are the 5 books that I will be reading this week in this reading vlog. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I just made it to chapter 9 in I Kissed Shara Wheeler, which is just over 100 pages. So I figured it was probably time for me to do an update. I don't know if this was the best book to choose for like romance, because this doesn't really feel like romance so far. I think it is supposed to be romance, so I don't know if it's gonna go that direction later on, but this really just feels like a YA book, which I mean it is. But it's also like, it was on my TBR and I didn't know when else I was gonna read it, so I guess it does make sense that I chose it. The cover gives very much like Valentine's Day to me. I don't know. But basically we have this character, Chloe, who lives in this small town in Alabama, and she goes to like this Christian high school there, and she has 2 mothers, and she is bisexual. She identifies as bisexual, and she has a lot of queer friends as well. So it's very interesting because the school they go to is Christian. None of them are really out because there's a lot of homophobia and just certain things in this town and with the school specifically. But one day this girl, Shara Wheeler, who's basically like Chloe's like enemy, or like they compete a lot in academic things. Like in school they are very competitive with one another, so they're definitely not like friends or anything. But Shara comes up to her one day and kisses her, and then all of a sudden she like disappears and nobody knows where she is. So Chloe finds out that she kissed another boy named Rory before she left. And then we also have Shara's boyfriend, Smith. So the 3 of them are kind of finding these notes and these clues that Shara left and trying to figure out where she is, what happened, why she left, like why all of them are caught up in all of her drama. So that's really what the story is so far. Like I said, it's not very romancy as of yet. The plot might sound a little bit familiar. It definitely is giving like Paper Town vibes, but it's really funny because like early on in the book they say something like, oh, of course Shara would be the one to like put herself into a John Green novel, which I thought was funny. Like, okay, at least it's self-aware that it has a similar plot to a different book. I don't really have a lot to say about it so far. Like, it's reading just like a YA book, like high school kids and high school drama. There have been a couple of things that were kind of funny to me. There was one part where Chloe gets in the car and she puts on bleachers, which is really interesting to me because bleachers was a band that I listened to when I was in high school, so I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, there's just been, like, it's entertaining. It's holding my attention, but it's not doing anything, like, crazy for me right now. And I'm hoping that it goes more towards romance, but I'm not really sure where it's going just yet. As far as, like, characters and, like, plot, like, Shara, I feel like if that happened to me and, like, this girl did that to me, I would be so irritated. Like, I feel like I would be mad and I wouldn't even care. I'd be like, I'm not gonna solve your little mystery, like, whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's so annoying. Like, how important do you think you are? Anyways, also I just noticed the spine of this is super cute, but I'm gonna keep reading and let you guys know how far I get tonight. Hopefully I can finish the book tonight, but no promises because it is getting late. But one thing I like about reading YA books is that they are very easy to read and I can read them very quickly. So I finished my first book and I'm not really sure what I want to rate it. I'm thinking like a 3.5 because honestly when I first finished it I was gonna give it a 4 because I was like, well, I don't really have any complaints. And then I thought about it more and I was like, actually I do have one complaint, and that is I feel like Chloe as a main character wasn't really that interesting. Like I feel like I was more interested or found the side characters more interesting, like Rory and Smith in particular. Even Shara herself I feel like could have a lot more depth than what she was given in the story. I just wish like in general we got more depth into the characters, especially Chloe, because she is our main character, and like I said, I don't think she was really that interesting to be a main character. Overall though, like I did have a very positive experience with the book. Like I enjoyed it. It definitely was a YA book. It felt like a YA book, and I may be incorrect here, but I think this is this author's first YA book. I think their other two novels are adult romances, so I feel like they definitely pulled off the YA feel. Like this feels like high school drama and high school children, but it was really, really fun. There was like a little bit of, not really commentary, but this element of, you know, all of these queer kids and coming to terms with their sexuality, but they also attend a Christian school that is like very, very strict with certain things, and just the small town that they live in itself is very homophobic. I mean, they're in Alabama, so that was an interesting element, I feel like, and things kind of did I don't know, pan out in a nice way, I guess, at the end in addressing some of those issues, which I enjoyed. I feel like the dialogue in this book also was very, very realistic. Like, it's definitely like how I feel like high schoolers talk and how like Gen Z talks, like, but it's not like overly so, you know, like she's not like, the author isn't throwing in Gen Z slang on like every page, but I feel like some of the phrases that they use and just like different conversations that they have, it feels very authentic and very like natural in terms of dialogue. I also enjoyed the humor and the type of humor that the characters had within the book, and just like in the writing itself there was humor, which I did enjoy. Like I said, overall it was a fun experience, a positive experience. I don't know if it was the right book for this video because a lot of it isn't romance. Like, it goes romancy at the end, but a lot of it is like kind of coming of age, and then like also solving the mystery of like where Shara Wheeler went. So it's not entirely romance, but I did enjoy it. So I think I'm gonna land on a 3.5 for this one, but I am going to start my next book, which is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Like I said, I have enjoyed Ali Hazelwood in the past, but I feel like the main complaint that people have when it comes to Ali Hazelwood is that like a lot of her STEM romances are too similar. Like, they're not really different from one another. So we'll see how it goes with this one, but I am excited to start it, and it's coming from my physical TBR, so that is really, really good because anything I can do to take books off of that is really nice. So I am now on chapter 8, which is page 104 in Love on the Brain. I am really enjoying it so far. Like, I am eating it up, like, I don't know, just flying through it. Which makes sense because when I read Ali Hazelwood books in the past, like, they were very quick reads for me. But I'm really loving it so far. We are basically following this main character. Her name is Bee, and she gets this job working on this big project for NASA, but she finds out that she's going to be working alongside this guy named Levi, who she knows from like her professional career in the past. They've kind of had some awkward encounters, and she believes that Levi does not like her, and so therefore she does not like Levi. So she is a little bit apprehensive and a little bit nervous going into this project, knowing that she has to work closely alongside him for 3 months. And they had a lot of issues with their project and a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications between the two of them. But now we are starting to get somewhere. They are starting to have like more interactions with each other. She is seeing a different side of Levi. One thing that I do wish we had in this book was a dual point of view. Like, I wish we got to see his perspective on things, because we are just reading from B's point of view, so we don't really get to know what Levi is actually feeling, which I wish we had a little bit more of. I see a lot of people criticize this book because they say it's basically like the love hypothesis too, but for me, like, it doesn't feel like that. Like, yeah, it's gonna feel similar because it's like the whole STEM setting and like the science side of things is gonna be a little bit similar, but the characters feel very different to me. Like, people were saying that B and Levi feel just like Adam and Olive, and I don't see that at all. Although they are both like very likable characters. I feel like a lot of people are saying too that B is like really annoying. There were a couple things that annoyed me. Okay, first of all, we get introduced to her and we know that she has an ex-fiance who Levi knew when she was engaged. So when they like meet up again, she still pretends to be married to him. Like, he's like, oh, how is so-and-so? And she's like, oh, he's good, instead of saying like they're not married. And I was like, oh, come on, because you know that's going to cause a problem when they try to get together later. There is also this element where B runs this like Twitter account that's like a really big like academic Twitter account or something, but she is conversing with this guy who runs a different big academic Twitter account, and I feel like it's very obvious like the person who runs that account is Levi, and they are like DMing about different situations, not knowing that it's that person. So I feel like that's a little bit obvious. It's definitely gonna go that way, but I'm eating it up. I am really just enjoying the story so far. It is making me giggle, and I'm just having a good time reading it, so it's going well so far. Hi, I just got out of the shower, so if I look a little crazy, that's why. There is absolutely nothing I want to do more than to just get in bed right now and finish this book, but I wanted to give you guys an update. I am on page 242, which brings me to chapter 18, and I am still absolutely eating it up. Like, I am loving this book. I don't know. I'm just really, really enjoying it. There is one thing I will say. I can kind of understand why people find B's character annoying, because like she gets in her head that Levi hates her, but then even after she talks to him and he's like, oh, I don't hate you, like actually I really like you, I think you're cool or whatever, she still continues to like say like, oh, he hates me. Like, even to his face she'll be like, I know you hate me, so it's okay. And he's like, no, I don't hate you. And so I can understand why people would find that annoying. I feel like that would just be annoying for like him, because he's like, oh, I really like you, and she's like, no, you hate me, but it's okay. So I get in that sense when people say that B's character is annoying, but other than that, like, I am really, really loving this book. Like I said, I just want to get in bed and finish it because I'm eating it up. I also really, really enjoy that Ali Hazelwood's books, like especially her like STEM romances. Like, I like that the female characters have something else going on in their lives. Like, I feel like sometimes in romance, like, it's just so focused on like the love interest, and it kind of seems like the female main character maybe doesn't have a personality. She's just like obsessed with this man. So I really like that her books focus so much on their like professional career life and just, yeah, like their career side of things. Like, they have something else motivating them outside of their relationship, and I really enjoy that because I'm like invested in that storyline as well. Like, this whole thing that they're developing for NASA, even though I don't fully understand all of it, it is very, very interesting to me. So, loving this book. I also took it with me when I went to go use the treadmill, and I just read it while I was on the treadmill, but I happened to get to the spicy scene while I was doing that, so I was like literally in there like blushing reading this, but thankfully nobody else was in there, so nobody could look over my shoulder and be like, what is this girl reading? Because that would have been a little bit awkward. Yeah, I'm gonna go, like I said, jump into bed and finish this book, so I will update you guys with my final thoughts later. But before I do that, just in case I start reading this before updating you guys, I picked up A Quantum Love Story today by Mike Chen. This is like a brand new release. Literally last week I heard about it and then immediately put it on hold at my library, and then I went and got it today, so she's here. I feel like I'm talking so fast right now. It's probably because I want to get done with this so I can get back to reading. Anyways, this is like a sci-fi romance book, and I guess it's about these two people that are like stuck in a time loop, and I guess the male character has like past memories of a life with the female main character, but she doesn't remember that at all. So they kind of like pair up to try to remember their life together and figure out this whole time loop thing. But then I guess the more that they're stuck in the time loop, he starts to lose his memories. So I guess they just have to like work together to escape the time loop and then figure out their like romance and their like relationship. So it sounds really, really interesting, and I'm glad that I heard of it and was able to get it in time for Valentine's Day and in time to put in this vlog. Anyways, that was a lot of talking that I just did. I'm gonna go finish this book now. Like I said, let you guys know my final thoughts once I finish it. I feel like honestly it's probably gonna get like a 4. Like to me it feels like very equal to my reading experience with The Love Hypothesis, although Adam is like top tier for me. Levi's kind of a little bit lower than him, but I do feel the same way where it's like I'm laughing. I love the humor. I love the banter between the both of them. I am getting giddy over the romance, and I'm just really loving it. Hi, it's the next day. I have some updates. First of all, Love on the Brain. Obviously, I finished it last night, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars, honestly, which I was not expecting, but overall, my experience with the book was very positive. Like, I enjoyed reading it, and I think that, I don't know, like, this type of romance is just a really good, like, palate cleanser. Like, it's just a fun little book to pick up and read, and you don't have to think too hard about it, but it's an enjoyable experience. And that's really, like, all I have to say about this. I enjoyed it, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars, which is really cool. Then I started A Quantum Love Story today, and I am now on chapter 11, which is page 86. And basically we have this character named Carter who works in this like building for this industry, but he's just like a technician, so he's not like a super high up person in this like company or whatever. But he has found himself in a time loop where he goes through the same 4 days and then wakes up again every Monday morning. The cat is peeing right now. So Carter has found himself in a time loop now where he's basically reliving the same exact 4 days until this thing happens where like this big machine explodes in this building, and then that's kind of like where the time loop starts over. So now he has tried to like make contact with somebody else and like bring somebody else into the time loop with him, because everybody else is just like going on about their daily lives. They don't know they're in a time loop. So he gets this girl, I can't remember what her name is, Mariana. She was like the only other person in the room with him when this thing exploded and they both got zapped by something weird. I don't know. But he's assuming that that's the reason why the two of them can remember things. So he tries really hard to make her remember. And then one day she wakes up and does remember that it's a time loop. So now the two of them are working together. They're thinking maybe if they stop the explosion, then the time loop won't happen. So that is as far as I have gotten in this book so far. I'm really enjoying it. It's very, very interesting. Like, it's a lot of sci-fi aspects, obviously, but their relationship is going to develop romantically as the time loop continues. But I'm very curious to see how things work out and how they get out of the time loop and how their relationship develops and just everything. Still pretty early on in the book, but I am excited to see where it goes. I am now on page 287, chapter 40 of A Quantum Love Story. And once again, like, I'm not entirely sure if this was the right book to choose for this video, because like it is a romance book, like there is a romance, but it's like more so, I would say, like a sci-fi book with romance in it. Like it's not entirely romance, but maybe that's kind of what I needed, because I've always loved reading sci-fi, but I've been really into sci-fi recently, so I think maybe this was perfect for me to read for this video. But like overall, it's not like a romance, but it is a romance. So we have basically just been following Carter and Mariana through this time loop and them trying to figure out different things and get more information and try to find different solutions, but then also at the same time their relationship is growing and their connection to each other is really growing. It's very interesting to follow. I think they're both very interesting characters. Carter has this thing as well, like he is this technician at this company, but his main passion, what he really wants to do, is cook. Like he's very passionate about food, so that's kind of become a fun like element, especially between the two characters, because Carter is like teaching Mariana to like take time and like savor the flavors rather than just eating for sustenance, which I think is really funny. And every time loop he's just cooking this like fancy and this like gourmet food for them, and there's a lot of food descriptions in here, which is a really fun element. Definitely makes you a little bit hungry, but I'm really enjoying that as well. And then obviously as the time loop goes on, we have, you know, this character development with Carter, especially trying to figure out what he really wants to do if and when they get back to the real world and time does go on as normal. But we are now at the part of the book where Carter has forgotten his memories and he doesn't know that he's in the time loop anymore. Basically, he has like this photographic memory, so that's how they would remember things and different data to get from one loop to the next, is he would write down any data or different things that they came up with, and then he just basically had to look at it and he would remember it in great detail, obviously. So carrying it on to the next loop, and then they would be able to use that data and further their work and make more progress. But slowly Carter started to forget things, and then we are now at the point where he's just entirely forgotten Mariana. So now she is in this time loop by herself, still trying to solve it and get back to reality, but she also wants to be able to continue that relationship with Carter if and when she breaks this time loop, because she has developed such a connection with him. And obviously, like, it's hard for her to go through this and see Carter but know that he doesn't recognize her. It's just a very interesting aspect. But we're at this point now where Mariana has met up with some people and she has another possible solution that they are working on. But if this solution does work, like, it's a very big sacrifice that she has to make, so it'll just like entirely alter her life and kind of deplete her chances of ever having a future with Carter. So it's like this kind of dilemma she's in, and whether or not she wants to make this sacrifice to break the time loop for herself and everybody and also alter her entire lifetime forever. So it's very interesting. I am really enjoying it so far. I'm really enjoying seeing like Carter and Mariana's relationship progress and just the connection that they have. Like, there was this really kind of tender moment where Carter is beginning to forget things, and he forgets Mariana's name and like where to find her, but he remembers who she is as a person. So she eventually hunts him down and they find each other and they just kind of like hold each other and just like have this little tender embrace, and I thought that was a really sweet moment. So I am rooting for the relationship. I'm also interested in the sci-fi elements and like the other plot aspects aside from the romance, so it is going well so far. The stakes are also getting higher because not only is her connection with Carter like no longer there, but there's also a lot of weird things happening with the time loop itself. Like, normally in a time loop, obviously the whole idea is that everything is the same from one time loop to the other, but one day they wake up and there has been this prehistoric mammoth that just like appears out of nowhere in this public park, and then from there on in each loop there's like a different prehistoric animal that just appears and is obviously not where it's supposed to be. So time is running out obviously for them to kind of figure this out. Things are getting more like dire circumstances, so it is very, very interesting. I am looking to finish this tonight. It is just about 350 pages, so I don't have that much more to go, and I'm very curious to see how things end, and I really want Carter and Mariana to have their happy ending, so let me finish this. So it's a couple hours later. I have finished my book, had dinner, cleaned up a little bit, so I'm here to give you guys my final update. I really, really enjoyed this book. It's one that I could very easily and very quickly recommend to others. Like, this, I feel like, could be enjoyed by a really broad audience. I wasn't entirely sure what to rate it because, like, I feel like a 3.5 is like too low, but then I feel like a 4 is maybe a little bit too high. But then I don't want to do a 3.75 because I'm trying not to do like 0.75 or 0.25 ratings this year. So I'm still not entirely sure. Maybe when I like figure out my thoughts, I will put up like the official rating on the screen. But like I said, this is one that I will very quickly and easily recommend to people, and it is one that I enjoyed. I really liked the way things wrapped up in the end. Thinking back on the book as a whole, like, it really is about the relationship between these two people and the connection that they form, so I think it is fitting to call it a romance. It is a sci-fi romance, but it's still a romance at the end of the day. There's a lot of science elements to it as they are kind of discovering, like, what is happening in this time loop and how to fix it. Like, there's a lot of science and mathematics and that type of thing, but it's also still a romance at its core. So weirdly enough, I don't really have a lot to say about it as a final update because I did talk to you guys a lot earlier. If you like sci-fi, if you like romances, if you like time loop, time travel type of things, then I would recommend it. It's got a cat in here. The relationship is just very sweet and very tender. Like, it's not like a crazy over-the-top romance. I would say, like, if you are somebody who reads like Ali Hazelwood or like other like kind of spicy romances, or just like a very avid romance reader, I don't know if you would like this type of romance. But if you are somebody who kind of dabbles in romance and likes the sci-fi genre, then I think you could enjoy this book just as I did. But I think next I'm going to start physically reading The 7-Year Slip, and then I think I'm gonna listen on audio to Forget Me Not, just because I want to get this video wrapped up a little bit quicker so I can move on to reading things for other videos. But I'm really, really excited to read The 7-Year Slip. I don't know how it'll be going from this into that one because they're both books that play with like time and have like time as a, I don't know what the word is, an aspect of the book. So we'll see how that goes. But The 7-Year Slip, I'm very, very excited for. Hi, we are in my bed. I have some updates for you guys. I actually ended up starting and finishing the audiobook for Forget Me Not by Allison Derrick today. I originally just wanted to start the audiobook to get a little bit into it, and then I wanted to physically read like the rest of it, but it ended up being a much shorter audiobook than I thought. I think with my listening speed, it was like less than 5 hours, so I finished it while I was at work, unintentionally. I'm really not sure what to say about this. I'm not even sure what my rating is. I think maybe I'll do like a 3.5 star. This is about this girl named Stevie, and she is in a relationship with this girl named Nora. She has just recently graduated high school, but she has been in a relationship with this girl for 2 years. But they live in a very, very small town that is very religious, and their parents are not very friendly with the idea of gay people and just like not being straight in general. Very homophobic, and just the whole entire community as well. Like, there's not really any other gay people there, so they are keeping their relationship a secret. They have plans after graduation that they're going to move to California and live together and go to college. And in the beginning of the book, Stevie gets into this accident where she gets amnesia and she loses her memory from the last 2 years. So she does not remember the entirety of her relationship at all. She just remembers being 15 and the friends that she had when she was 15 and the different things going on in her life. She doesn't remember being gay or ever questioning her sexuality either, so it's a very interesting time for her to come out of this coma after the accident and kind of learn all these things that she is 18 years old and freshly graduated and it's just very interesting. Something that I did enjoy about this book is I feel like the realisticness of it when it comes to the way that their parents are and like the homophobia of other people. Like, it's not like everybody's always so sweet and loving and so supportive all the time. It just brings in that truth that a lot of people, a lot of kids and teenagers face around the world, where they get disowned by their family or abused by their family or just completely cut off by their family, kicked out of their homes for their sexuality. So I really like that this book had those realistic aspects of it. Like, it wasn't all like, oh, it's okay, like, we love you so much, and like change of heart type of thing. Like, there was a lot of truth to it, and homophobia and that type of thing. There was also some racism present as well. Our main character is half Korean, I believe, so she kind of has some racism in the town that she lives in because she is like one of two Asian people, or just non-white people in general. So that was another interesting element as well that I like that the book touched on. It was definitely one though, and I don't know if this was just because I was listening on audio and not physically reading, but there were definitely times where it felt like I was supposed to be emotionally reacting to the book, but it just didn't connect with me in that like powerful emotional way that I was expecting it to, or that I feel like it meant to do. Like, it definitely kind of sets out to do a certain thing, but it just wasn't hitting me emotionally like I thought it would. And like I said, that might have just been because I was listening to it on audio and not physically reading it, but I don't know what it was, but I just didn't like totally connect in that emotional sense. Like, there were things that I would read and be like, wow, that's sad, but it was never really more than that. I was just like, oh, that's sad, oh, that sucks, like but it didn't really impact me that deeply. Overall though, this is another one that I'd be very, very quick to recommend, especially to people of this age group, in the young adult age group, especially people that are questioning their sexuality. I think this is a really good book and could be important for a lot of people. The amnesia aspect is a very, very interesting element to it as well, but overall I feel like it's just a really nice, like, coming of age lesbian story. Things wrapped up pretty nicely at the end, and I have positive thoughts about it. So not only did I finish that, but now I am on page, let me find it, 142, chapter 18 of The 7-Year Slip, and I am loving this book so much so far. We have this woman who is very successful in her career, and she was very, very close with her aunt, who is a little bit eccentric and always said that her apartment was magical. Her aunt has now passed, and she has taken over this apartment and moved on, and she is now learning the magical things that her aunt used to tell her about and she never believed as a child, but now she's learning that they are true when this man appears in the apartment, but the apartment itself is stuck 7 years in the past. So yeah, it's just very interesting. And she develops this romance with this man, obviously. The part that I'm at in the book was where she kind of just discovered, like, where he is in the present timeline. Like, in her timeline, that is 7 years in the future to the guy in the apartment. But obviously, like, he's also there in the future. I don't know. It's, like, kind of confusing to explain, but it makes perfect sense when you're reading the book. I'm loving it so much so far. The writing is really, really nice. Like, it's very, I don't know, easy to take in and easy to go through, but I'm really, really enjoying it. I think it's lovely writing. The characters as well, I feel like they have such, like, spectacular chemistry. Like, you can really feel, like, it feels like a real relationship, which I really, really love. I think they are so cute, like, their banter and just, like, their whole relationship. Our main character's name is Clementine, and he calls her Lemon, which for some reason I think is, like, the cutest thing that he calls her Lemon. And I'm really just rooting for the relationship. It is funny because the last book that I read before Forget Me Not was a quantum love story, which is not only a romance that plays with time, but the main male character in there also has this, like, passion for cooking and is, like, really interested in food. And that's what this book is. Like, it plays with time, and the main male character in here, he, like, aspires to be a chef. And so that's kind of how they bond, is him cooking and like teaching her to really enjoy the food a lot more. And I just think that's really interesting, the similarities between the two, but I'm really, really enjoying this one. It's safe to say I'm absolutely flying through it, and this point in the book, I feel like I could definitely see myself giving it a 5-star, but we do have like 200 or so pages left, so I know a lot can change in that. So I don't know what is going to happen in those 200 pages from now until the end, but I'm really, really excited to find out. This is definitely one of those books where when I'm not reading it, I am thinking about it, and I'm just getting all giddy and happy inside because I'm really loving the characters and the dynamic they have with each other, and just the whole concept of it as well is so unique. Like, I've never heard or read anything like this before, especially as a romance. So it is going very, very well, safe to say. So I'm gonna keep reading and let you guys know when I have an update again. You guys, this book is so good. I'm loving it so much. I just got to page 254, which brings me to chapter 32, and it is just so good. Like, I really love the dynamic that they have together, especially with like the whole plot and like the time difference, because obviously they are together now in Clementine's like current timeline, but for him that is like all the stuff that happened in the apartment was 7 years in the past. So any of the events that happened in the apartment, like, they are just now taking place for Clementine, but for him it's been 7 years since then. So there's a lot of time and space and history and different events for him between those nights at the apartment and the present, but for Clementine it's like happening at the same time, which I think is so interesting. Like, obviously he has already lived through all of the events that have occurred between them in the apartment, but she is still like unfolding the events as she goes because she hasn't lived through everything yet, so she doesn't really know how things ended between them, and I think that is so fascinating. It's like also like the tension is there because now in this present timeline, how they have reunited is through Clementine's job. So it is unprofessional and like not allowed for her to be in a relationship with this person as a client, but obviously like the history is there, the love is there, the chemistry is there, but it's like that tension because like they want to be together but they know that they can't, so it's like a lot of unspoken words and unfinished conversations because they are just not allowing themselves to even go there because it breaks all these rules. And I think that's another really, really interesting element that I am just like loving. I'm eating it up. The romance in this is just so good. Like I said, they really do have a lot of chemistry. Like, it comes through so clear and it just feels so authentic. Like, it feels like a real relationship. Like, these are real people having a real relationship and they have real history between them. Some of the lines are so cute too, like right here where she says, "It's not my fault you want nothing to do with me," and he says, "Nothing to do with you. I remember how you taste, the sound of your breath as I held you." And he continues on, but I'm like, that is so cute. And once again, just the way he calls her Lemon, like, I love it so much. This is not a book that I want to put down ever at all. Like, this genuinely may go into my all-time favorites, and I think it's definitely on track to be a 5-star, which is crazy because I don't know when I've ever given a romance a 5-star. Like, maybe Taylor Jenkins Reid, like way back years ago, so I don't know if that would still hold up, but this is like a real like 5-star. Well, at least that's how it's feeling, but I still have how many pages? I don't know how to do math. I mean, I do, actually. I shouldn't say that. Like 70 pages left until the end, so I'm just giggling and kicking my feet over here because I'm loving this so much. This book is 100% getting a 5-star. Like, it was so good. It was so sweet with the romance, but then also like really sad at parts with Clementine and her aunt, obviously, because we know from the beginning that her aunt has passed away. She's living in her apartment. So that was sad at times, but the whole romance was very sweet, and the love story and the way that it was like right person, wrong time, and I don't even know what to say. Like, it was just so good. It's gonna be a book that I will be thinking about for a very, very long time from here on out. And literally, like, as I was reading the last final pages, I was like, I already want to go back and reread this book so I can annotate a bunch of stuff. I think I'll do that in the future, probably get a second copy just to annotate, because like there was so many sweet lines in here that I don't even know if I could tell you guys, because I don't know if they would be like a spoiler, but like I just really enjoyed this book, and I really enjoyed the characters, and it's one of those books that it's like always gonna live on in my heart and like have a special place in my heart because it was just so sweet. There was also this thing at the beginning where she was talking to him one of the first times that she met him, and she was telling him this thing, and I was like, that's gonna come back in the ending. I bet they're gonna have a tender moment with this thing that she just mentioned, and that is exactly what happened. I called that, but it was like perfectly just how I thought it would be. Like, oh my gosh, it was just so good. This was a book that I know I told you guys, like, I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to keep reading it, but at the same time, I also wanted to take my time with it because I was enjoying it so much. Like, it was kind of a dilemma, honestly. Like, I wanted to keep reading and like get to the ending and figure out what was going to happen with these characters, but I also was loving it so much that I wanted to take my time and be very slow through it and really savor just the whole thing. Like I said, this is definitely going to be one that is just gonna live on in my brain and in my heart for a very, very long time. Like, I love the world, I love the characters, I love the writing. I am definitely gonna read more from this author. The Dead Romantics I already want to read, but knowing that she also has another book coming out this year like has me so stoked. Like, this was just beautiful in all of the best ways, and I can't believe that I'm actually giving it a 5-star, and I'm actually going to say that this is an all-time favorite of mine because it was just that freaking good. Like, I just love their relationship. Like, really, that's all I have to say. So if you haven't read this yet, or if you were debating picking it up, like, take it from me, it is 100% worth the hype. Like, please read this book. Well, here we are at the end of the video. I have read 5 romance books this week, and they all got pretty good ratings overall, so I think we did a really good job. But let's just do a little recap. We had Forget Me Not by Allison Derrick and I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. These are both YA books. They are both LGBT, and they both have this element of a religious school or a religious town that they live in. They both got a 3.5, so overall not too bad. Then we had Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood and A Quantum Love Story by Mike Chen that both got 4 stars from me. And last but not least, we had The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I still don't know how to pronounce her name, which unbelievably got a 5-star from me. And this is probably a book that I will not shut up about for a while. So thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you guys have a happy Valentine's Day, and I will see you next time.